Hey guys, what is up? What is going on? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we are going to be discussing what if Donald Trump outperformed his numbers in each state by 1%. Now, he still would have obviously lost the popular vote by around 3%. I believe he's on track to lose by a little less than 4%. So, just taking away 1% gets him to a 3% loss in the popular vote. So he still loses the popular vote, but we are just going to be taking a look at what if he improved on his numbers by 1% exactly? Now, I know that wouldn't make sense. Like, for example, say he lost 50 to 49 in a certain state, and you just give him the increase of 1%. That's 50-50. Luckily for us, that didn't happen. But this isn't really mathematical. This is just adding 1% to his support in each state. So, yeah, we're going to be taking a look at each state, starting with Alaska, where it doesn't want to give you the county results for whatever reason. But I will tell you that Donald Trump won Alaska by 12%, so it still remains in the likely column. So, yeah, now going over to the state of Hawaii, right over here. This is obviously going to be safe. Joe Biden won here by like 30 points, a little less than that, so it's still safe. California, I'm 99%, I'm actually 100% sure it's still safe. I mean, Biden probably won here by 30% or something like that, so just taking away 1% does not make it likely. Oregon was also very safe for Joe Biden this year. He won by nearly 17%. So, so it's going to remain the safe column. Same with Washington. Oregon, people were saying Oregon's going to be likely, or Oregon's going to be a swing state. That did not age very well for them. So Washington, Oregon, both very solid for Joe Biden. Now going over to Nevada, we'll go down to Nevada, work our way down there. It still would have been, it went from lean Biden to tilt Biden. Essentially, all of the votes are counted. Biden won the state by 2.4%, but it goes down to 1.4%, so it's a tilt margin of victory for Joe Biden in Nevada. And now going over to Arizona, this is a flip. Joe Biden won the state of Arizona by 0.3%, so if we give Trump the 1% support there, he carries Arizona. Barely, it's very narrow, but he does carry Arizona. In Utah, giving him the 1% boost. Wait, hold on, Alaska should be safe. Oops. I just realized, giving him the 1% boost there. In Utah, he wins it, but even bigger of a margin. Now, going over to New Mexico, this is a state that Joe Biden carried by over 10%, which was surprising to me. I thought he was going to win by like 7 or 8%. But he did carry New Mexico by over 10%. So, he's currently up by 10.8. So, give him 1%. It's still likely, but yeah, that's not likely right. Now, in Colorado, I do think that this would be still remains safe, if I'm correct, because Biden did end up winning. He won it by 12.5, so it's going to go down to 11.5, so Colorado would be likely, but it still remains firmly in the Biden column. Now going over to Idaho, Wyoming, those are both safe. I mean, Trump won them by safe margin, so giving you 1% support there only increases his share of the vote. Now in Montana, this state was pretty solid for Donald Trump. I mean, he won it by essentially 17.5 or 16.5%, so add on 1%, it's still very safe for him. The Dakotas would be safe. I mean, I'd be surprised if Biden was able to crack 35 in either of these. I mean, he did crack 35 in South Dakota, so good for him. Now in Nebraska, obviously they split up their electoral votes, but the statewide vote, in all of them except for the 2nd district, will be safe in this scenario. But the 2nd district would remain likely Biden. I think Biden won it by like 7 or 8, and getting rid of 1% for him still keeps in the likely column. Now, going over to Kansas, Joe Biden lost in Kansas by, 14%, 15%, just a little more than 15%, so still remains in the safe column for Donald Trump. Oklahoma would remain safe as expected. Texas, which I did predict would be likely, did remain likely. I mean, Joe Biden lost the state of Texas by 5.6%, so 6.6%, yeah. Now in Louisiana, Biden lost it by a safe margin, so still safe, obviously. Arkansas is very safe as well. As you can see right here, Arkansas is it's not really a swing state anymore like it was in 1996. Now, Missouri, which Biden, I did think that he'd improve on Clinton's 2016 numbers, where she lost by 19% and lose by only like 11 or 12%. I was in the middle. I mean, I wasn't horribly wrong, but he did end up losing to Donald Trump in Missouri by 15, so still remains very safe for him. Iowa would remain likely, but he'd essentially go from his 2020 numbers to his 2016 numbers. Remember, in 2016, he won the state by 9.5. He won 2020 by 8.2. So, yeah, still going to be very, very solid for Donald Trump. Now, in Minnesota, this would still remain likely, which was weird. Biden really did a good job of running up the score in the suburbs. And in the Iron Range, where people thought that even possibly Lake County could flip to Trump, Biden solidified his support there, so he was able to win Minnesota by a good margin of 7.2%, so it remains in the likely category. Now, going over to Wisconsin, this was a big win for Joe Biden. He won it by 0.7. Well, what if I told you that Trump improved on his numbers here by 1%? He would have won Wisconsin. So Wisconsin would have gone at Trump by 0.3%. It would have gone by just a couple thousand ballots, but still, every vote counts, and in Wisconsin, that's what would have happened. It was very close. And by the way, people say that like Wisconsin, Trump single-handedly flipped it back to being a swing state. That's not true. In 2000, in 2000, Al Gore won Wisconsin by less than 1%, even though he was a good Rust Belt candidate. In 2004, John Kerry, who was also a decent Rust Belt candidate, he won Wisconsin by less than 1. It was only Obama being such a good candidate and Mitt Romney being such a bad candidate. Or that Obama was able to win Wisconsin by a likely margin. So, yeah. Now, Illinois, I think this actually might have been likely if you give Trump's vote share. No, it wouldn't have. Never mind. I was wrong. Because I haven't checked. Because remember, in Illinois, like there were still a lot of Democratic votes that hadn't been counted, like Peoria. Or Cook County wasn't fully reporting until like last week. So, Illinois, like Biden was up by like only 12 or something. But safe. Indiana was safe to begin with. That remains safe, especially when you add the percentage for Donald Trump in Kentucky. In Kentucky, it also would have been safe either way. West Virginia was very safe. Tennessee, safe. Alabama, safe. Mississippi, I think that it was safe too. Could have been likely. It was safe, but, obviously adding 1% makes Mississippi very, very safe. And Florida, it would have been lean still, although it would have been an even more spectacular performance in Florida. I mean, the fact that Trump only lost Miami-Dade County by 7% is huge, considering Hillary Clinton won it by like 30%. And the fact that, Monroe County, Biden couldn't crack 47 there is interesting. Now, Biden did flip Duval County, but it doesn't do much when you can't run up the score in Miami-Dade. So, yeah, now going back to the raw vote share, Biden lost Florida by 3.3, so you add that 1%, that makes it 4.3, so it still would have been lean. Now, Georgia, this is another big one that we're going to have to give to Trump in this scenario that he outperforms his 2016 numbers. So you give him Georgia, and he that's 16 critical electoral votes. It's the same size as Michigan, so it would have been as big as Trump winning Michigan. So Georgia goes to Donald Trump by just 0.8%, but still every vote counts. South Carolina, I do think would have actually been safe. I mean, Trump won it by just over 12%. So, it's that would have been safe. Now, North Carolina would have been lean, I believe. I mean, Trump won it by he won it by 1.4. So we add the 1 overs, obviously 2.4% margin of victory. That would put North Carolina in the lean column. So Donald Trump wins North Carolina by a lean margin. Now, going over to Virginia, this would have been pretty solid for Joe Biden anyways. I mean, he won by 10.2%. It's going to be likely, though, so Virginia, likely Democrat. Now, let's go over to the state of Michigan. And Joe Biden, I mean, he's losing the electoral college. He has some serious catching up to be doing. So going over to the state of Michigan, can he hold on to his lead there? I mean, it was a flip from 2016. Luckily for Joe Biden, he can't. Even if you give Donald Trump 1% increased support, it's still a win for Joe Biden. So, yeah, it's closer, though. It is admittedly closer, and it does fall into the tilt category. So Michigan tilt Trump in our giving Trump the 1% boost. Now, Ohio would have also been likely. Trump had a good performance in Ohio, despite the early ballot return saying, oh, Biden's going to win Ohio. That was like on Twitter for 45 minutes. Oh my gosh, Biden's going to win Ohio because he has the lead there. But that obviously did not prevail. So Ohio, Donald Trump did very well there, and if he expands his margins there, he would have won by 9%. Now, Pennsylvania is a big one. This is huge, actually. Donald Trump, if you give him 1%, he loses it just barely by literally the skin of his teeth. He loses Pennsylvania. He loses 0.2%. So, yeah, that does a lot of damage to him. So, yeah. Now moving on to go to Maryland. And D.C. obviously would have been solid for Joe Biden. We're going to give D.C. to Biden. Maryland, obviously, not very competitive. I mean, Biden won it easily. We're just going to skim over these. New Jersey was very solid for Joe Biden, so even if you give Trump 1%, it's just safe, but it is a little closer than it should have been. Delaware, Biden didn't crack 50 in his home state. That was interesting to see. But he was able to flip, like, the middle county, whatever that's called, Kent County. Kent County was the one he flipped, so, yeah. But Biden was able to win Delaware pretty easily. He won it by 20%. Now, New York, obviously, remember when Trump was at 43% New York when there weren't some ballots that were counted, but there were still some outstanding, and Biden's gonna crack. He's already cracked 60. Actually, never mind. So New York, solid blue. Connecticut, solid, or it could have actually been likely. No, it's not. He won it by 20%. So it's pretty solid. Rhode Island. Remember, Trump had the lead there on election night. Good times. Why does it not want to show me the result? There we go. Rhode Island, still solid blue. Massachusetts, obviously, very solid for the Democrats. Vermont, very solid for the Democrats. And would you look at this ending? Just look at that. Now, in New Hampshire, and some of you might have already figured out what happens, but New Hampshire would still go to Biden by a likely margin, just would have been 1% closer. Now, Maine, the at-large vote there still would have been likely. The first district would have been safe because Biden would have by 20%. Now, Joe Biden's at 269, Trump's at 269. He would have won the second district by a safe margin because he won it by 8 or something. He would have won it by 9. We have an electoral tie. If Donald Trump just did 1%, but just 1% better, we would have had an electoral tie. Wow. We were 1% away from an electoral college tie and a constitutional crisis. Well, not constitutional crisis, but it would have been insane, and I would have hated it because no one would have been happy. So, yeah, that's what the map would have looked like if Donald Trump outperformed his numbers in each state by 1%. Obviously, some states would still remain solid for the Democrats, like New York, California, and Washington. Some states would remain solid for the Republicans, like Montana, Tennessee, Missouri. But, the states that flip are Arizona, Wisconsin, and Georgia. And that would be enough to propel Trump to 269 electoral votes. And him holding on to the second district of Maine would have been enough to give him the victory. So, thank you all so much for watching this video. Please consider subscribing if you have not already. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.